first of all, the field validation. This is an ongoing study. Its objective is to assess the efficacy of air filtration in large breeding herds in swine-dense regions. It's a team of the University of Minnesota, again, South Dakota State, and the 3 practices. The design is 10 treatments, which are the filtered farms, and 30 controls. It's a 4-year project, and we're basically in year 3 at this time. You see the selection criteria listed there. We're looking for large breeding herds located in swine-dense regions that have had a history of new virus introductions almost on an annual basis, despite using very good industry standard biosecurity, meaning basically they had an intervention for everything except air. Okay, we're measuring whether new viruses get into these farms, and eventually we'll do some cost analysis. And our hypothesis was that reinfection will be significantly less in filtered herds versus non-filtered herds. So when we look at the characteristics of the farms in the treatment group and the non-filtered control group, I just want to show you the mean values for breeding herd inventories across both groups. You see they're roughly 3,000 sows on average in size. You see their history in regards to new virus introductions. Approximately 1 every 12 to 13 months there's a new outbreak in these farms. That's been their historical experiences 4 years prior to filtration. So we went back 4 years in time before they filtered, looked at the new virus introductions, and on average they're getting infected about every year. And then you can see the number of sites, the number of pig sites around these farms. We want them in dense regions so we can really test the filtration technology. On average, all these farms have 8 sites that they don't flow piglets to. That's another criteria. These sites around these farms are filled from other sources, not the sow farm. Roughly 8 herds on average in the 3-mile radius. Okay, these next 2 slides are really important. They're becoming 2 favorite slides of mine. I'd like to take some time and just describe them, because the goal here is to show you the sustainability of air filtration in these very, very challenging regions. Okay? So this first slide represents the first 5 treatment farms from this study. Now these farms were filtered in September of 2008. And up until this month, we've now accumulated almost over, actually, 1,000 days of air filtration. We've actually broke the 1,000-day barrier not too long ago. So we've got days here on the y-axis of filtration. We've got the different farms here, farms 1 through 5. The tall bars, the tall blue bars, are showing we're up to 1,017 days now of air filtration across these 5 farms, the first ones that jumped in to the study. But what's important is look at the days on average on the maroon bars here. This is the mean period of time in between outbreaks that they used to experience before they filtered. For example, farm number 1, roughly every 182 days, based on the last 4 years before they filtered, they would experience a new virus introduction. Okay? So that's how to interpret this chart. Now you do see that in 2 farms, here and here, we did have new virus introductions at approximately day 438 and day 460 post-filtration. As best as we can tell, based on our investigations, one was due to a transport breach, and the other was due to a personnel fomite breach at the D&D room. This is the second group of 5 farms within the 10 treatment group study. You can see these farms started in September of 2009, so they started a year later. So they haven't been filtered as long, but they have been filtered now out to approximately 652 days from their September 1, 2009 beginning. Again, look at the difference in the average number of days between outbreaks as designated by the maroon bars for the 4 years prior to filtration versus where they are now. And none of these farms, as you can see, have broke. I need to make a point, back to this previous slide, that even though these farms did break one time, notice that they corrected the issue, and they have not broke again. A very important point that I didn't make earlier. So they figured out what went wrong, they corrected the issue, and they have remained free since. Okay, what about our controls? We have matching controls, 30 of those. These are basically farms of the same size in the density with the history of breaks, but they aren't filtered. And as you can see from this slide, these farms are breaking quite often. 28 of the 30 farms have experienced at least 1 new virus introduction over this same period of time from September 2008 to June of 2011. And of the 28 farms infected, you can see that some have become infected more than one time. And you do the statistics on these data, and you see that reinfection is significantly less likely in filtered herds versus non-filtered farms. Okay, what does that mean downstream? These data are becoming interesting to me as we're collecting weaned pig mortality data, which flow out of these filtered farms. We're starting to see some striking differences in this particular outcome of nursery mortality. So what I did is I went to nursery mortality data from these farms before they filtered, when they were producing a lot of PRRS virus infected pigs prior to weaning. And that's what you can see here. There's our average nursery mortality, basically across about a 6-month period of time. There's tens of thousands of animals represented in these flows. And you can see what's happened to this nursery mortality parameter after these farms have filtered and have been producing negative pigs at weaning. So starting to see some differences there. Okay, so instead of 8.3% mortality on average across all these post-weaning flows, we now have a 2.6%. Instead of almost 20% here, we're down to 2% on average. From 13% here, down to 1.6% on average. That's a significant change. Okay, so that's what we're doing now with the air filtration. Clearly, a strategic intervention strategy for preventing new PRRS virus introductions in sow farms in swine-dense regions. So to conclude, right on time, air filtration significantly reduces the risk of external PRRS virus introduction. That's been proven under controlled field conditions and now clearly in the real world in large swine breeding herds. Advances in technology have enhanced its sustainability by reducing the backdrafting risk. We've now got products we can buy to reduce this risk to make the whole product much more successful. And these data have catalyzed widespread application of air filtration across the United States, across the 3 participating practices that I talked to and work with. There's over 200,000 sows that will be filtered by September of this year, all the way from key strategic filterings of boar studs or daughter nucleus sow farms to complete system-wide filtration where every sow farm in the system has been filtered. So it's a technology, it's a tool, it can be used as needed, and I think it's a very strategic application for key sites or complete system coverage in regions involved in area regional control and elimination.